you guys feel like you get enough sleep on a regular basis? Raise your hands. Okay. So I won't ask the opposite. I do have an agenda today, and you know what I would love is that a week or 2 weeks from now, you guys emailed me and said, you know what, I'm sleeping better. That would make me so happy. So that's my agenda, but how do we get there? Before we get into the nuts and bolts about sleeping, I do want to say that it's not just a physical thing. It obviously has a spiritual element to it. And we're body, soul, spirit. And so even as you're trying to figure out physically how to shut down, wind down at the end of the day, how are you going to be able to correlate that with your spiritual well-being? And it made me think about this Psalm 127, 1 and 2. And we might work hard. It says, unless the Lord builds the house, though, we labor in vain. So you can stay up late, cram information, wake up early, try to get that assignment done. But unless the Lord blesses it, it says basically it's not going to work. But on the flip, he says he gives to his beloved sleep. And I love that. So I hope that he would give us the gift of sleep. So that's that. The second part is, the theme incarnate. It made me think about one of my favorite C.S. Lewis analogies. So I don't know if you know this analogy. It's my favorite. It's written in Surprised by Joy. And he said that before he became a Christian, even if there was a God, it doesn't matter because man can't know God. But he said, as he came to know Christ, and the Holy Spirit revealed this understanding. He gave him this analogy, which he shared with the world, which was brilliant. He said, just like man can't know God, Hamlet can't know Shakespeare, because Hamlet is just a created being. But later, when he became a Christian, the Holy Spirit said, but Hamlet can know Shakespeare if Shakespeare writes himself into the play. And that's what God did by writing himself into the play of humanity, incarnate. So he was God, but he was man. He knows how it feels to be tired, to be lonely, to be sleep deprived, to be hungry 40 days without eating. And so as we look at this idea of sleep, I want us to look at our models, specifically Christ that we'll get to, but also what are some other illustrations of sleep? Now, when we say the temple of God, right, when we talk about incarnate, people say, what do you eat? How do you exercise? I know that there are some churches that have this big thing about exercise. I'm not going to name the name of the church, but there's one in Southern California where for a while they had like these exercise stations all over their campus. And I'm all for that. Fine, if you have the money, do it. But hardly do people talk about sleep when you talk about the temple of God. And yeah, we want to have brain food. We want to have, good things that we put into our body. Everyone's on the keto or Whole30, right? I think that's the big thing these days. Great, do it. But another thing I think we've neglected is the amount of sleep that we need. Now, we are all wired differently. Some of you guys only need 5. I had a friend in college. He was a triple major, and he only slept 5 hours throughout the whole time, and he did everything great. Me, I need about 8 to 9 hours every day. And on top of it, I actually need a nap. And there is stigma behind napping, and I'm here to kill that stigma because I am an avid napper. I love napping so much that my friends buy me random things like this. And this is like most of my Christmas presents. And I have like 20 shirts that says like Queen Napper and stuff like that. So anyways, I'm not going to be ashamed because I'm in really good company. And there are a lot of people who take naps well and have produced a lot of good things in life. And you can see these people for yourselves. And I'm not talking about like 3 hours on the couch, right, after vegging out watching Netflix. I'm talking about 10, 15-minute naps. The time that you would actually use to check Facebook or return a couple meaningless texts that your relationships would be better without those texts anyways, right? So I'm just talking about those 15 minutes that you can redeem by just laying down. And Winston Churchill, he said, don't think you will be doing less work because you sleep during the day. That's a foolish notion. You will be able to accomplish more. And that's so true. So in fact, before this session, I took a nap. And I'll tell you a little bit about napping a little bit, as we go forward. But I'm not kidding. I did struggle spiritually with this because, I want to be as productive as possible. And I was praying over the summer. I asked God, I said, Lord, is it okay to nap? Like, I was wrestling with this. And I'm not kidding you guys. That same week, I was at a restaurant and this kid comes in front of me and he's wearing this shirt. Jesus took naps. Be like Jesus. And so I'm looking at his shirt and I'm thinking, is this a sign? God, are you trying to tell me it's okay? I'm not sure. But I thought it was funny. And I thought, if anything, God has a sense of humor. But this Mark 4 passage we're going to get to in just a little bit. And at the same time, I started thinking about just the importance of sleep. And so over the summer, I read a very interesting book. It's called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. He teaches at my alma mater. It's a New York Times bestseller. He's been on all the talk shows, all of that. And there's so much sleeping research behind this book that it's just packed with research. In fact, if you look at the index, you're going to be overwhelmed with the research. But he goes on to say, and I'm just going to read the list, that your brain needs sleep to do some of the things that you do as college students. So if you need to learn, memorize, make logical decisions and choices, then you need sleep. Sleep also recalibrates our psychological health, helps us stay emotionally calm. It helps us to stay composed in challenging situations. And then, of course, it helps with our immune system. Without sleep, your chances of developing cancer are astronomically higher. Sleep fights off malignancy, prevents infections, and wards off sickness in general. Also, it helps regulate your metabolism, your balance of insulin. I can just go on and on. So people used to ask, what is sleep good for? But they don't ask that anymore. They actually ask the flip. Now they say, are there any biological functions that do not benefit by sleep? And the answer has been no. Now, every living being, us, that has a lifespan of more than several days has a 24-hour rhythm known as the circadian rhythm. Circa means around, and dian, which is a derivative of diem, means day. And basically, it sends us a signal on when we like to do things, when we like to wake up, when we like to sleep. It actually controls other things too. When you like to eat, when you feel the best, when you're in a good mood, even the amount of urine you produce. So that's kind of gross and weird, but so like things like that. But it's no coincidence when you look at this. Can you guys look from 12 to 1? Most people actually feel the best during that time. And most Olympic gold medals are won during that time. And so this isn't something that's just, wishful thinking, whatever. It's actually really scientifically backed. Now, on top of it, there is something called the suprachiasmatic structure nucleus right in the back of it's right in the middle of your brain. And right now, as you're sitting here, it's telling you whether or not you are feeling awake or you want to go to sleep. And what it does is it scans the light that your eyes is able to take in. And from there, it releases something called adenosine in your brain. Every minute, chemicals called adenosine is actually being continually accumulated in your brain. The more adenosine, the sleepier you get. But there's a way to trick adenosine, and that's actually called caffeine. So you are able to trick adenosine from latching onto your brain receptors by consuming caffeine. Now, Matthew Walker, the author of this book, is not a fan of caffeine. He says caffeine, and this is a quote, is the most widely used and abused psychoactive stimulant in the world. It's the second most traded commodity after oil. So you're not going to get a lot of regulation on it. He says it's worth pointing out that caffeine is a stimulant drug. Caffeine is also the only addictive substance that we readily give to our children and our teens. Now, I say all this because I love my students. I really do. And for those of you who I've had in my class, I love you guys. It's so good to see you guys here. And when some of you guys come into my office hours, and you tell me I've had a really rough week, I've been asking in the last year, are you getting enough sleep? And I've noticed that most of the students say no. And I'm not saying that sleep is going to cure your anxiety. It's going to cure your depression. But sleep is going to make everything better. And so I'm going to go through some research that Lisa Egram gave me from Student Wellness. And we're going to start with Biola research, and then we're going to go to outside of Biola. And they took a small sampling, around 9 Biola students, and they asked basically these questions. Hey, do you think you're getting enough sleep? And most of the people said, no, we're not. And so 2 out of the 9 said, yeah, we are, but the majority of the people, like the majority said, yeah, probably not. And these are quotes from your colleagues, from your peers. A lot of people who wake up all the time at night because they have so much going on that their brain doesn't shut off. Have you guys ever felt like that? Lying at, you want to sleep. It's not that you don't want to sleep, but you just can't shut off your brain. And one student also noted that at the beginning of the semester, you have good intentions. You want to balance all these things, but then you have midterms, right? And then you start giving up sleep for that week, and then it starts to kind of like just kind of this roll effect where it kind of goes into the next sleep cycle and on and on. And then it kind of continues that you keep giving up sleep for other things, and then by the end of the semester, you're doing finals and you're going 4 hours each night and you're struggling. And then going outside of Biola, they took a larger sampling. They took about, over 1,500 students. And it was Biola and also outside of Biola. They asked a whole bunch of questions covering a bunch of categories. And you know what struck me, you guys? This next slide shows that Biola students are so different from the rest of the population in terms of, let's say, cigarette use. So if 7.7% of the national average is smoking, not even 1% of Biola students are smoking. And then e-cigs, same thing, 10, and then 2.7. Alcohol, okay, maybe half of that. Marijuana use is a big discrepancy, 22% to 2.7. So you see a big discrepancy between what the world, so to speak, is doing and then what Biola students are doing. But when it comes to sleep difficulties, it's not that different. You have a 27.76 versus a 34.1. And 82% of Biola students have said that they had a hard time falling back asleep. So I don't want you guys to feel like, oh, it's just me. A lot of people around you are feeling the same thing. And I just want to say that as you're looking at these statistics, one of the main things that I really want to do today is for us to collaborate. Have you guys heard, friends don't let friends blank, right? It's a meme, it's all over, different things like don't let friends drive drunk or whatever it is. I was gonna say, if we could actually say friends don't let friends go sleep deprived, what would that look like? And that you would be accountable with each other. And when you see your friend who's really, really tired and they just need sleep, you would say, hey, let's not go out tonight. Why don't you go to sleep? I wonder what that would look like. And I wonder what that would look like for these things, migraines, and for anxiety, for depression. And so these statistics show us that mental health and sleeplessness are intertwined. And I can go through a lot of other slides, but I think I'm going to just pass through this one. But I want to land on this one because maybe this is how you're feeling. This is a quote from someone from Biola. There is a perception that we're supposed to be happy because it's a Christian school and we don't feel lonely. The Biola culture also says that the more I do, the more value I have. And as Christians, we feel the weight that falls on us. We're 17, 24-year-olds, but we have to make all these decisions. So you're feeling overwhelmed. And then at night, you go to your dorms, your apartments, you're laying there, and you have all these thoughts that are swirling through your head, and you're not quite sure how to get past it. So I want to say by this point, I hope you're convinced that a good night's sleep is needed, but how do we get there? And I want to start by saying that I don't know if you've ever thought about it in this term, but sleep was God's idea. And to understand the spiritual necessity of sleep, just like God created oxygen and food, He created sleep for us. It's not a suggestion, it's an imperative. Have you guys heard of John Piper? You guys all have heard of we all love John Piper. So it's kind of a long quote, but I thought you would put up with it because it's from John Piper. So I want to read you this quote. He said something really profound. He said, sleep is like a broken record that comes around with the same message every day. Man is not sovereign. Sleep is a daily reminder from God that we are not God. Once a day, God sends us to bed like patients with a sickness. The sickness is a chronic tendency to think we are in control and that our work is indispensable. To cure us of this disease, God turns us into helpless sacks of sand once a day. And so he's basically saying that, you know what? This was God's idea, and we have to remember that we're not God. Now, another thing to remember in the spiritual element, have you guys ever thought of this? It takes faith to sleep. It takes faith to go to sleep without having everything finished. That mercies are new every morning. It's not something that we sing about, but it's true that the next morning God can work something out where his mercy will meet you there. I don't mean being derelict in your duties or not doing what you're supposed to do, but I mean that you've done everything you're supposed to do in that 24 hours and you couldn't get everything done. Then it takes faith to trust God and to go to sleep. And there were some psalmists who said this well. So in Psalm 3 and also in Psalm 4, David says, I lay down and slept. I woke again, for the Lord sustained me. In peace I will both lie down and sleep, for you, O Lord, alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety. This was a time when David was being pursued and harassed. If anyone wanted to not sleep, it could have been him. But it was this trust that God is going to be able to do that. And of course, coming back to that t-shirt thing that Mark chapter 4, we know that in that story, what we see is a terrible sea that was raging. And have you guys ever been on a boat with a lot of just rockiness? Could you imagine sleeping through that? It would have been just crazy, right? But why did Jesus sleep? He knew that his Father would take care of him. And so it's not a theoretical thing, it's an actual thing. But how do we get there? There seems to be a chasm. For me, there was, from wanting to sleep, knowing these things, knowing that God wanted this for me, but how do I get there? So I just wanted to start by saying that, first of all, I want you guys to know that there are seasons in life. And so this is going to look like something maybe for your friend, and it's going to look different for you depending on your season. So maybe your season right now, I talked to a student earlier this week, told me that her mom was diagnosed with cancer, that she is working 2 jobs. This is a tough season for her. And so she's going to have to figure that out. And other students who are coming out of a hard season, it's a season to rest. For me, I actually started napping when my kids were small. I'm a mom of 2. And when they were little, they were such bad sleepers. Like, I asked everyone, please just pray for them that they would sleep. And I don't think I slept well for like 5 hours, or 5 years, I'm sorry. It was a long, I slept for maybe 5 hours at most. It was the worst. In fact, I felt loopy. I felt just kind of crazy. And in fact, at one point, I almost went on medication because I thought there was something severely wrong with me. And I didn't know that it was actually sleep deprivation. I'm not saying that people shouldn't go on medication. That's not what I'm saying. I think if you need it, you should go on medication with your doctors and all of that. But I'm saying for me, it wasn't that. It was, I just wasn't sleeping well enough. It can affect you that much. Another thing that our family recently encountered was my husband was diagnosed with a brain tumor about a year ago. And he had a seizure in the middle of the night. And so we went and found out he had a brain tumor. And thankfully it was not malignant, it was benign. He took it out and we thought everything was fine. But about 2 months ago, so right before the semester started, he had another seizure. And we took him in to see a really good neurologist. She's Stanford trained. And you know what she said? My husband's a doctor too. And she said, you can't take calls at night anymore. And he said, why? I mean, he's such a bad sleeper because as a resident, as an intern, you just can't sleep. And she said, if you do, it's going to break your circadian rhythm, the thing that we just talked about. And if that's broken, she said, your chances of a seizure will be raised by like 85%. And so the way he's looking at his life is going to be different because of sleep. And she said, also, your chances of having that tumor come back and it being malignant will be this percentage if you break your circadian rhythm. And so we have seasons in life. And for me, because my kids are older, now I'm sleeping a lot better. Except for, ironically, last night, you guys, I slept so poorly. It was so interesting before coming in here. But the last month has been really hard for me to sleep well because we have new babies in the house. No, I didn't give birth. We got puppies. And they are so cute. That's Abby and Sky. And they are bad sleepers too, though. And only recently have they started to settle down. And just remember that depending on the season that you're at, you want to make sure that you're going to be able to say, okay, I'm going to try to use my time in this way, and I'm going to parcel it in that way. But even as you're thinking about that, I do want you to be warned about a couple things. Number one is, well, this quote says, if what you need to accomplish requires more than 24 hours, then that's probably an indicator that you're taking on more than God intended you to. So maybe there's something you need to jettison. Maybe there is something that God doesn't want you to do. But maybe you're in that season where you can't give anything up. You just can't. You've whittled it down to everything possible. And it's okay to have sleep debt. I'm not going to ask how many of you guys are in monetary debt, because let's not go there. But you're in a season where it's okay to have a little bit of debt. And it's okay to have a little bit of sleep debt too. But just remember that the adenosine that is in our bodies, that dissipates when we sleep, that stays in your body until you sleep it off. And so it accumulates day after day. And if that stays in your body for the long term, then you will be more likely to get sick. So with that said, and I love that you guys are in round tables because I did want you guys to do a couple activities really quickly. Matthew Walker had a couple tests, and I'm going to give you one orally right now and then one I'm going to have you guys do as a group. I'm going to ask you guys 2 questions. They're simple questions. Question 1. First, after waking up in the morning, could you fall back asleep at 10 or 11 a.m.? So before noon hits, if you woke up, do you think you can go back to sleep? If your answer is yes, then you are most likely not getting sufficient sleep. Right? So, question 2. You're like, that wasn't very brilliant. This is the second question. Can you function optimally without caffeine before noon? Yeah? Do you want to, is the question. If the answer is no, then you are most likely self-medicating your state of chronic sleep deprivation. But what I want you guys to do is now switch gears to this. This is called SATED, if you guys have ever heard. So it's satisfaction, alertness, timing, efficiency, and duration. Can you guys read this in the back? Or is it too small? Can you guys give me a thumbs up? Okay, perfect, guys. I'm going to give you guys maybe 45 seconds. So go ahead in your groups. I'll give you a minute. Go ahead and look at these and give yourselves a number, whatever that might be. It's from 0 to 10, and I would love to hear some of your responses. So go for it. Do you guys all have a number? Yeah? Okay. Do we have any brave souls that want to share their number with us? Tim, you want to share with us?
Sure.
Okay, what?
Between 7 or 8, I was indecisive on.
Okay, that's not bad. Okay, how about you, Whitney? 5, okay. Anyone lower than 5? Okay, a couple of you guys. How many of you guys have 10? Oh, wow, you have your sleep mask on and everything, you're ready to go. That's awesome. Well, I think that this is kind of the protocol test that most sleep places who do research, they start with this, and then of course it gets fancier than this. But basically, if you have anything like 6 and below, then it might be worthwhile to talk to someone about it. If you're 7, 8, that's pretty good. If you're 10, then you should come up here and teach this. So I think that there are ranges in all of that. But so I have some steps going forward. And I was thinking, what are some things that we can do as a community to go forward? And I know it's going to sound super basic, but one is to pray. Like, how many times have I not prayed about something? But if you're having trouble sleeping, then ask God. You gave me my body. You're the one who made it. You know it inside and out. You knew it when it was born. You know when I'm going to die. You know everything, right? How do you want me to take care of this body in this season? So pray. But the big thing is plan. And I'm going to camp out here for a while because I know that there are so many ways that we can plan to sleep better. One is, and I feel bad even going here, but I think it has to do with technology. And technology really can undercut good sleep. So I'm not going to go into all the blue light research, but if you look at screens like within an hour before you're going to go to sleep, your brain is so wired it's unable to shut down. So it's not just the ideas that we're having in our heads, but it's literally the stimulation that we have mentally because of the blue light that we're seeing. Or to have this sleep challenge where you'll say, okay, I'm going to turn off my phone, I'll silence it, and I won't check my text throughout the night, but I'm just going to be able to shut it off for these hours of the day. Another thing, and you guys might think that this is crazy, but it works for me every time, is as I'm laying in bed, I'll think about the scriptures that I've memorized, and I'll pray them over me. And so it's not just that I'm saying, I'm going to trust in the Lord with all your heart, but I'll say, God, I'm really struggling. Can you help me to trust you with all my heart? Like, you're so far from me. I don't know where you're at. And I'm having such a hard time trusting, and I don't even know where my heart is. And I'll pray the scriptures, and that has been one of the most powerful tools in easing the anxiety. Another thing I do is, I'm giving you all of my weird secrets that I do now, is I play something called the ABC game. And so I'll start with A, and I'll think of something that has to do with God, starting with A. So I'll think that he is Abba Father. And then I'll go to B, and I'll say, he is beautiful. And what's C? He's caring. And I'm not kidding. Usually I fall asleep by N. So I don't have anything for like P for you, because I'm usually out cold by that time. And sometimes I'll start with Z, but I'm like, it's too much brain power at the end of the day, so no. So I'll just always start with A. But it's always something different because I feel like the Holy Spirit is there ministering to me and helping me with that. But another thing is, I'm not trying to get you guys all to be nappers like me. How many of you guys take naps, by the way? I'm amongst my own. Okay, I don't need to, I'm preaching to the choir. But for those who don't take naps, I want you guys to know, and some people actually wake up groggy after a nap, and then don't do it. But one of the best pieces of advice that I ever heard about napping is you don't have to fall asleep. And so it takes the pressure off. But let's say, actually right now, we should all be sleeping. We should all be having a siesta. It's siesta time. If you're tired, I'm not going to take it personally. I saw a couple of you guys yawning. I know it's not me. No, whatever. But, seriously, during this time, we all kind of get tired. And after this, I might go take a second nap for 15 minutes in my car. And that's the thing where there's no real pressure to sleep. But, have you guys thought about when your phone is when it's on low battery? And you put it on that, kind of lower setting, and you just conserve energy, that's what you're doing. And most of the time, if you take about 10, 15 minutes in the day to just kind of sit and rest, it's so helpful. Now, I wanted to ask you guys if you would be vulnerable enough to ask someone for help if you need accountability for sleep. And it's personal. I hope that you'll be able to talk to a friend. But I'm serious. If you need someone to just check in and say, how's the sleep thing going? Or do you need other resources? Please email me. And I would love to give you other resources that I have. You have so many resources on campus too. And one is the sleep kit. I'm not going to go through it because Biz is going to go through it. But there are a lot of cool things in here that you guys can tap into. There are a lot of cool things. But as I was looking through this, what I thought was missing, what I use when I take naps, and this is probably only going to really resonate with the women, so I apologize to the men in the class or the group. But if you're into it, then great. What I usually do when I take a nap is I put on a facial mask. Have you guys seen these? And I was going to show a picture of myself with the facial mask, but I heard this is being recorded and I don't want it online. And anyways, I was going to say a joke, but it's totally inappropriate, so I'll stop there. But anyways, so yeah, I have, and I feel like at the end, I always, like 99.9% of the time, fall asleep. But even if I don't, I wake up with fresh skin, so it's great. And I bought a new pack recently, and so I want to say for those of you who are willing to take the sleep challenge, and you're going to pair up at least with one person, if not two, the first 20 people who come up after this, I have a face mask for you. And after this, I would love for you guys to, the group, the all-male group in the front got excited over this. I'm surprised. But, oh, whoops. I do want to say that, you know, for all intents and purposes, oh, I'm sorry, I can say all this, but did you know that it's not going to be as powerful if one of your peers says it? It's just research. There's this quote at the bottom. It says, when it comes to talking about things like sleep, faculty and staff have a voice, but they say certain things to us all the time. I can even imagine the eye roll, right? They say it all the time. But when other students talk about sleep and value it, FOMO decreases. So maybe you feel like your friends are going to go out and they're going to have a great time without you. But if you have your friends who are going to say, hey, you know, I think you do need to go take a nap. You need to go sleep. You need to go rest. I would love a friend like that. I would love to be a friend like that. And I would love to see communities around like that. And so I want to say that as you guys are thinking about what it looks like, I know there are so many layers of what keeps us up late at night. And that's why it's not just about the physical act of sleeping. There is that mental, spiritual aspect that I don't want you ever to think that at Biola that you're alone. You're not. And I know you might hear that sometimes, but I'm serious, you're not alone. If it's like 2 a.m., I will be sleeping. But if it's 2 a.m. and you feel like I am desperate, I can't fall asleep, I need someone to pray for me, email me, and I will email you in the morning. I wake up really early. But then we'll get together that day or whenever our schedules allow within a very short period of time, and you will have someone there for you. And so I just want you to know that at Biola, you have people who love you because Jesus loves you, and he's poured that love into the people who are here. And so please don't ever feel like you're alone. Susan.lim@biola.edu if you have any questions. And I'll be around here if you guys have any questions that you want to ask me personally. But so 20, I only have 20. I don't know about this group. I'm going to step back as soon as I'm done. But thank you for your attentiveness. I'm so surprised that you guys stayed awake for the whole thing. Thanks, guys.
Discover who you're called to be at Biola University, a leading Christ-centered university in Los Angeles, with programs on campus and online. Subscribe for more of our videos and learn more at biola.edu.